It's Thursday, April 11, 2024. Welcome to CVM News at noon. I'm Nika Lewis. Several passengers, including students, were rushed to the Kingston Public Hospital this morning after a Coasta bus in which they were traveling crashed and overturned along the Portmore Toll Road in St. Catherine. The incident happened sometime after 7. Reports from the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, are that the bus was heading to Halfway Tree when it veered off the road, went over the guardrail and landed in nearby bushes.
Some persons were injured. The police had to attend the scene as well as ambulance and assisted a number of persons to the hospital. In terms of the definitive injuries, we have not yet concluded that because the persons are undergoing treatment. There were a number of students, I think high school students, that were on the vehicle, some of whom would have left to the hospital without their bags. And those bags can be retrieved by PSTEB headquarters at 16 Lower Ellis Road.
A Jamaica Urban Transit Company JDIC driver on the Portmore to downtown Kingston route was also this morning stabbed after a male passenger reportedly requested a stop outside of a designated bus stop. The driver refused, resulting in the passenger stabbing him. His condition at this time remains unknown as he's being treated at hospital. Consequently, other JDIC drivers on that route have since withdrawn their services. Members of the public transportation where possible. Coyote Satchel, the 31-year-old dental assistant charged with the murder of 8-year-old Daniel Rowe, has been remanded in custody until May 16, 2024. At that time, a plea will be entered and case management will continue. The Crown says by the next hearing, it should be in a position to proceed to trial. The child was abducted from the Brayton Primary and Infant School in Portmore, St. Catherine on June 8 last year. She was found later that day on Roosevelt Avenue in St. Andrew, bleeding from the neck. She died at hospital 2 days later. The team representing Ms. Satchel, who was arrested in the corporate area on Friday, August 11, 2023, comprises Donovan Collins, Orville Morgan, and lead attorney Patrick Peterkin. Farther afield now, O.J. Simpson, a former United States football star acquitted of murder in the widely watched trial in the 1990s, has died at age 76. In a statement shared on social media on Thursday morning, Simpson's family said he died on Wednesday after a battle with cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During this time of transition, his family is also asking that the public respect their wishes for privacy and grace. And that's according to a statement the family issued recently. Now, the U.S. media outlets are reporting that in February, Simpson was undergoing treatment for prostate cancer. Back home, representatives from civil society groups are calling the government out on what they say is a misrepresentation of good governance. The call comes amid the concerns raised in Parliament regarding the tabling of the Auditor General reports and how the situation was handled. Speaking on CVM's lead story yesterday, spokesman for the Advocates Network, Robert Stevens, says there needs to be more clarity.
We feel that there needs to be just much more transparency in terms of dealing with the people of Jamaica. The government should not be hiding or getting things as opinions from an attorney general and keeping them secret. These should be exposed to every parliamentarian because it guides everybody, not just Parliament, but the entire country. But let's face it, this is a very touchy issue. This is an issue dealing with the question of the tabling of reports from the Attorney General, the Auditor General, as well as the Integrity Commission. These are reports that basically hold people over the coals if they're stepping out of line. We need to know about these things.
His statement is supported by Jamaicans for Justice Executive Director Michael Jackson, who is also lobbying for the opposition to play its part in ensuring the government is held accountable.
And I think at this point we have to hold the parliamentary opposition to account that when you have a ruling political party that may be acting contrary to good governance and those principles, then the leader of the opposition and those who are within his support should act accordingly. And at this point, because they have legal standing, they should take the matter to court, and what we will continue to do as organizations collectively and independently is to continue to have the Jamaican people recognize the importance of this type of conversation.
Robert.
The Advocates Network convened on Wednesday for a post-budget governance media briefing where Chief Kalan Robert Pearman for the Yamé-Guani Council YGC was among the representatives present to voice their concerns to the government on recognition of key matters and policy adjustments. The Chief Kalan called for the government to not just recognize Yamé Taino culture, but also as indigenous people of the country, and calls for open dialogue with themselves and the Jamaican Maroons on land claims.
Refrain from the use of force, harassment, and intimidation by law enforcement officials towards indigenous leaders and others defending their lands. Withdraw the Cabinet Office directive and any public statements discouraging collaboration with communities claiming or seeking indigenous rights. An apology for this offense is also requested.
The Chief Kalan Pearman implored the government to upgrade its legislative framework to international standards so that indigenous people across the country can be recognized and work towards building a better Jamaica. Through a contribution refund towards deposit system, the National Housing Trust, NHT, is now able to grant home loans even to individuals who are strapped for cash. As Customer Service Manager at the Clarendon branch, Rexford Palmer explains, this will allow persons to access their contribution refunds that under regular operations would not be available for refund.
Over the years, the use of the contribution refund facility has expanded to include and cover costs such as valuation, surveyor's report, as well as attorney fees, to name a few. And I believe it is important that we differentiate between the contribution refund towards deposit and our regular refund, which persons can access on a yearly basis.
Gotcha.
So, for example, Joe has been contributing to NHT since 2014. Under the regular refund, he could access his contribution for 2014, 15, and 16, if not already done, to do anything that he wants, just to treat himself, to treat his wife, or to pay his children's school fee.
I like what you're thinking, I like what you think.
Now, as it relates to the contribution refund towards deposit, that would refer to the years 2017 coming upwards that are not yet available for refund. And this is what we'll make available to contributors to assist with the costs associated with acquiring home and reaching their home owner's goal of.
CVM News at Noon continues after this break.
Pure bulk syrup. It's just too sweet to beat.
Me grew up and see my granny save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Your grandmother house never burned down? No, how you reached that, so?
That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
But if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
All right. Because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org. And you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Now it's time for a discussion segment because in Parliament, lawmakers were called back from their parliamentary recess on Tuesday to amend Appropriations Act 2024 for the budget to exclude the amounts related to statutory expenditure that were inadvertently included in the act. Now, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, he was not present, so Education Minister Favour Williams, who is no stranger to finances, she guided that process, and Minister Williams explained that the amendments are necessary as the Constitution stipulates statutory expenditures are not to be voted on by the House of Representatives. But the opposition People's National Party is calling the sequence a blunder and they want someone to take responsibility. Of course, we're going to discuss this right now with our youngest bright minds, Cleveland Tomlinson, the opposition junior spokesperson on finance, as well as economist Sondre Roden, no stranger to CVM News, both of them. We are also seeing here, Cleveland, are you hearing us?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Sondre, that's you?
Yes, that's me. I'm hearing clearly.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining. First, Cleveland, you, because I like to pick on you. Why is this blunder? Why is this rather a blunder and not a simple error?
Because of the gravity of the error, Nika, it's quite unprecedented that after 2 weeks, having passed the Appropriations Act, that Parliament would have been called back in a kind of emergency to consider an amendment arising from a foul of an error. If we recall, the minister would have presented it with much fanfare, a lot of dramatics, theatrics, and it was incumbent on him to have thorough appreciation of all that contained in the budget. And he should have recognized at the time that the budget included statutory expenditures that, according to the Constitution, should not be voted on by Parliament. So he should have had that kind of appreciation. So it's really just a lack of appreciation on his part. And, any recommendation I would make in that regard is that he should let the dramatics, so the whole issue of red card, etc., almost like it was a kind of cussing out that he came to Parliament with. So it's really not a good look that he did not have the appreciation that budget include statutory expenditures that per the Constitution should not have been included. And there are also questions about the implications at this. So we know that these entities are not able to expend any funds until the amendments are passed in the House and then passed by the Senate, and then the processes continue before they're able to expend funds. And they have obligations that they must now. So really the People's National Party is saying that this is an unprecedented foul and someone should take responsibility. And certainly we believe that the of that minister, the one who presented the budget, should have had that appreciation.
But Sondre, can you agree with this? Is this something we really should be concerned about real quickly? Because with you, it's always a break coming up.
There can be errors, and we've seen over the past, over the parliamentary life cycle where there have been errors and amendments. That's the nature of legislation, the nature of politics, and the nature of how legislation is passed. Yes, they should have gotten it right. Yes, they should have ensured that everything's done to the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. I don't know if it is more than just a human error, because that's something we also have to take into consideration as well. Noting Cleveland's comment, we have to take that into consideration. And it is my hope as well that there are no implications from this, because it is, as stated, it is in the law. Even though I saw a news report that didn't specifically state the exact part of the Constitution, but constitutionally it should.
Section 163 of the Constitution, that's where it says.
Well, I'm seeing.
We will pick up this discussion in just a moment because we're up on a break.
Truth is, you can live life to the fullest with HIV. This time signal is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The time is
12:15.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. It's our discussion segment. We're joined by Cleveland Tomlinson from the PNP Shadow Cabinet, and we also have Sondre Roden. He is an economist, and they're discussing some foul play, it would appear. Some say it's faux pas with the latest budget. Now, we're continuing that discussion because, Sondre, before we went to the break, you were finishing up your point. But I want to just raise something here about a statement issued by the PNP YO recently, and that was to say, the part I'm going to extract, it says, the PNPYO is concerned that even in the face of such an error, the Minister of Finance was absent from Parliament on Tuesday and was not represented by his junior minister, who may have been able to provide answers, but was instead represented by the Minister of Education, who did not seem, and this is direct quote, to know the answer to anything. Why does this matter? First you, Sondre, and then we go back to Cleveland.
Right, I was clearing up really quickly for your viewers that it's actually section 116, part 3 in the Constitution. There's no section 163, as would have been reported by particular entities. But what I will say is that based on my understanding, I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I did see something come out about the minister not being on the island or not being able to represent on that particular day. The question of whether or not his junior minister should have represented him, it is a fair question to ask, but the further question then is why the government took that route, and I'm not sure if it was necessarily important for a particular line minister, for example, to represent. Noting that Minister Williams has her background in finance, I'm not sure if it's a matter of them saying a line minister had to present it, but it is a fair question to ask why.
If I may interject, Sondre, the Minister of Education currently was almost seconded, which never really happened, but she was taken from finance, where she was his deputy, and placed in education, where it was preferred because apparently there were some handlings and mishandlings around money at the time. So would it be too far-fetched that she, coming from a finance background, made the presentation anyway? I'm just throwing that in there.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the question that's asked now, that, you know, the junior minister didn't present on behalf of the minister, it's a fair question because it is the junior minister. You know, you're going to ask that. Anybody's going to ask. Absolutely. But then I was just creating the context to say that Minister Williams does have a finance background, and as you said, she once served in the Ministry of Finance as well, which says that she does have some understanding. But you can understand why the questions are asked, because then the impression that we now got was that there wasn't enough clarity around the issue, barring the statement that it wouldn't really affect anything. And for some people, even if I can understand it because I may have read up and saw that, yes, this is the information, if you're a regular citizen watching Parliament, you want to have a clear understanding. And that is that's the issue I'll take with it, because it can't be the case where you're now saying there's an amendment to the budget and, you know, it's not a regular thing to get an amendment to, you know, Appropriations Act, which says that there are questions.